welcome back to the Roadshow by CNET's live stage at the North American International Auto Show here in Detroit. I'm Tim Stevens, editor-in-chief of Roadshow, and we've been here for the past couple of days, and we've walked the show floor, we've seen all the cars, and now we're going to talk about some of our favorites. Joining me first are Roadshow editors John Wong, Emmy Hall, and Wayne Cunningham. Wayne, we put you at the end because you've been getting over a little bit of sickness from CES, but I'm glad that you're here with us this morning.
Got a little buffer here.
But it's been a long couple of days. We've seen a lot of great cars, and I just want to kind of quickly run through some of our favorites and why. So, John, you're closest to me. What's your pick of the show?
My pick of the show is the Kia Stinger, probably because it's gorgeous looking, first of all. Kia's got designed down with Peter Schreier at the helm, and I think it's a great looking car. A little busy at the front, but everything else I'm on board with. But the one thing that really has me interested is that Albert Biermann was the guy who spearheaded the development of this car. Came from BMW, and previously Kia and Hyundai's had problems developing suspensions, steering and whatnot, but Biermann overlooked a lot of BMW M vehicles and whatnot. So it's just interesting to see what his work there and his team at Nürburgring can develop, and his fingerprint should be all over this car. So interested to see if he's delivered.
And that should be, it seems like it should be a simple thing. You know, you make a car, you add X amount of horsepower, you rear-wheel drive, stiff suspension. It seems like it should be an easy thing, but obviously it's a lot more complicated
it's an
like
art.
that.
It's an art, just, dampening, steering, just the whole package, and then putting it all together to be one cohesive thing that, is connected, first of all, also rides well. So, asking someone to do all that stuff, it's an art. It's magic a little bit.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm super excited about this Stinger. I think it's going to be great. But the one problem that I have...
It doesn't have a manual.
Thank you. It doesn't have a manual. Come on, John. You know you want a manual in that car,
I would
too.
want a manual, too. All of us would want a manual, but the main general buying public, they don't care, really. It's like the guy's going to get into it. If it's a good automatic, which they say... they're promising that it will be.
It's an 8-speed?
An 8-speed automatic, 2 engines available. What was it? Turbo 4, 255 horsepower, and a 3.3 twin turbo with 365.
Yeah,
and
365.
That's a lot of power. So, I understand. Yeah, I'd like a manual. I'd buy the manual, but unfortunately, we're in the minority, so we're not getting a manual. And there's a lot of cars that don't have a manual in that class. Lexus IS, Infiniti Q50. Obviously BMW does, Audi does, but if you want a manual, then you got to go there.
What I want to know is, where does this car fit in the Kia lineup? That's the confusing thing here.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of an in-betweener. It's bigger than an IS and 3 Series and A4, and I think it's almost the same size wheelbase-wise as a Lexus GS as well.
It's like 5 Series size,
right?
basically.
So it's a big car.
Yeah, and you look at that wheelbase, and it's like, it's really long, really long.
Well, here's my theory, is Kia uses this car to launch a sub-brand, maybe a premium sub-brand.
A premium sports car sub-brand?
Oh.
Hey.
I mean, Hyundai did it.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're having a little trouble there, too. So I don't know. I know a little bit about that, obviously. But, it would be interesting to see. Well, let's start off with Stinger, and if it hits, then, maybe they'll look at it.
And we spoke with the product manager for the Stinger yesterday for Kia, and he basically indicated that this is basically Kia evolving along with their buyers. The Kia's been on the market long enough. They now have brand loyalists. They have people who love their Kias. They want to continue with their Kias, but they're getting a little older. Maybe their families are getting a little bigger. Maybe their disposable income's getting a little bigger too. They want to be able to move up market, but stay within the Kia brand. And so this is Kia's attempt to do that with both the Stinger and also with the K900, which is more on the luxury side of things. That's a big rear-wheel drive, more luxury, more comfortable sedan. The Stinger also gives them the higher-end, bigger, more performance-type car. But it is a bit of a weird proposition, roughly targeting the 3-4 Series, but the size of the 5 Series. Some of the, the feel like a G8 or an SS, that kind of thing too. It almost feels like that in my mind. So it's a bit of a weird proposition, I think. But I'm curious to see how it does. I'm eager to see how it does. It's a great-looking car. It is a little busy, as you mentioned. And one thing that nobody mentioned, it's a hatchback. Sort of.
Sort of.
A little bit.
It's a coupe, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or a coupan, I guess, a coupan. Right, it's got that little bit of the fastback look to it, but it's still a 4-door, so you can't really call it a coupe.
It's
so
the everyman Panamera, maybe?
Maybe.
I can see that.
Everyman's Panamera?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
There's a lot of history, recent history around sedan hatchbacks these days. So, I think they're kind of following in that framework.
So if you can't get your Mercedes CLS or your A7, then Stinger.
Sure. All right, Emmy. I think you're going to pick a truck. What's your car?
Well, you know, I am a truck gal, and the 2018 Ford F-150 I think is going to be so good, especially because they're going to now be offering a diesel engine, a 3-liter diesel engine. We haven't gotten any of the specs on that diesel engine, but still being able to have the option of a diesel and not needing to go up to this Super Duty series, I think that's going to fill a void for a lot of customers, especially those that need something on the work site that don't need, again, the super giant Super Duties. People that really need to tow stuff. You know, I know like you and I were going out to the racetrack all the time. We're always needing to tow our cars. You always drive your cars to the racetrack, right?
Yeah, I do. So if anything happens, I'm in big trouble.
But so having that extra torque to tow, I think is going to be great. And Ford is also bringing in, on the 2018 F-150, adaptive cruise control with start-stop technology, which I think is the first time we've seen that on a truck with actual start-stop. And, you know, it's hard to drive anything in stop-and-go traffic. There's nothing about a truck that makes it easier to, you know, on and off the throttle. So I think it's great that now we're getting that option in the Ford so that you can take some of that drudgery away from driving, and then once you get out on the open road where it's a little bit more fun, that's when you can kind of put your foot down and have a little bit of a blast.
I guess some refined styling too. They took some of the cues from the Super Duty and brought that down to the smaller truck too.
Yeah, a little bit of the Super Duty, especially in the front fascia, and bringing that in. And you know, if you don't want a diesel, they're also offering a new 3.3-liter V6 engine for 2018. So, you know, when you look at the Ford lineup with that F-150, there's so many options, and they've been the best seller for, you know, almost as long as I've been alive. And it's great to see them still innovating, still putting more ideas and everything out there. And then, of course, the other big news that we got is that the Ranger's coming to the States, coming back.
In what, 2019?
Well, come on, John. Like, give me a break.
For a wait.
Yes, we do have to wait, but good things come
That's true.
to those who wait.
I gotcha.
And, you know, I think the reason why they've been a little reluctant to bring the Ranger back is that for a while there, they were really close in size, the Ranger and the F-150, but now you go to the stand, you look at the F-150, it's like that's no longer a mid-size pickup truck. That baby is fully gone into full size. So they're losing a lot of market share from the Colorado, the Chevy Colorado, or the Toyota Tacoma. So they really do need a good mid-size pickup to bring in there. I'm super excited about it. You know, when we were over at the Paris Auto Show, I saw it all over the road in Europe. And it's always funny to see an American truck in Europe,
that
right?
we can't get here in the U.S.
How did that happen? And I don't get that in America. So now bringing it back here, I think it's going to be great.
What I'm curious about on the with the diesel option, the F-150, is where are they sourcing this engine? Is this one of their own engines from overseas, or is this something they're maybe getting from another maker?
Well, it's a 3-liter Power Stroke, so I think that's of their own making.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be a turbo, obviously. Turbo diesel. Yeah. That's a good engine size for a diesel. Generally enough power and decent fuel economy on the highway. So yeah.
Right. No, I think I'm going to be excited.
I was surprised that they didn't address some of the more pointed advertising criticism about the F-150, which is the aluminum bed and potential damage there. I would have thought they would have maybe done some sort of factory bed liner or something like that to just try to address that, because there's been a lot of attacks about the aluminum body truck, and ultimately I think that's a good way forward, but there's been some very pointed advertising about dropping tool chests and puncturing the bed and that kind of thing. It seems like that should be a simple fix for them, but they didn't mention that at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you know, it would have been great to have actually seen the European Ranger.
That would have been nice too.
What's the name? The European Ranger come out here. I really wish that we had actually seen it when they made the announcement, but all we saw was like a photo of it. So that was kind of fun.
We saw the emblems.
And the logo.
The logos of that and the Bronco.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and the Bronco coming too. That, you know, it'll be interesting to see once the Bronco gets here, so that finally the Wrangler has got a little bit of competition for a good body-on-frame off-road SUV, to see maybe Chevy's going to answer with the Trailblazer, and then see where else manufacturers are going to answer that when it comes to real body-on-frame off-road SUVs.
A whole new era of old-school SUVs.
Yes, do it all the old-fashioned way.
And they'll all have electric drivetrains.
All right, Wayne, what's your car of the show?
Well, I've kind of got two. I've got a top and then a pretty strong runner-up. I really like the Lexus LS 500 they've shown off here. Back about 10 years ago, I was reviewing the original Lexus LS 460. And that car is one of the only cars I've ever given, full top marks to, 10 out of 10, because it was so good. And so it's been a long time coming. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for an update for that car. And it's, Lexus is, I guess that car was so good, they were like, well, we'll do minor updates here and there, but they didn't really give it a full generational update until now. And the new one looks really good. It's got some of that fastback styling we see with the Stinger, and they've gone the way of a lot of luxury sedan makers where they've reduced the engine size. They don't need a V8 anymore. I mean, nobody really cares about cylinder count, so they're going with it's a turbo V6, 415 horsepower. That's better than the old V8. It's going to get better fuel economy on the highway, probably equal or better, on the in city streets. It's got a nice big display. It might fall behind somewhat of the real luxury cars in its infotainment stuff. Lexus has always gone for more functionality rather than really pushing the boundaries. But this has just been a long time coming, and Lexus has always known how to do a really good luxury car. Good luxury ride, good comfort, good cabin. So I'm definitely looking forward to driving this one. And my runner-up on this is the BMW 530e. The new 5 Series has a lot of stuff going for it. It borrows a lot of stuff from the new 7 Series, which is a phenomenal car. And earlier last year, I drove the BMW 330e, and that's got, I think, almost a miraculous drivetrain. They incorporate GPS location into the drivetrain, so the car knows when to use its electric power. It's a plug-in hybrid, so it knows when to use its electric power, when to rely on gasoline. Brilliant idea. And so the 530e does the same thing, the same drivetrain basically. So this is why it's my runner-up, because it only sort of rehashes what we saw in the 330e as far as the drivetrain goes. But I just think this needs to be called out again and again because it's brilliant stuff. And other automakers are going to have to look at how they can use location-based technologies to adjust how the drivetrain works, because you can get better fuel economy, you can just optimize so much better.
And the iDrive in the 5 Series, you can operate it either by the little control knob or by using your voice or by gesture control, right? They took that from the 7 Series?
Yeah, and they have expanded gesture control too.
Really?
They refined that, they've added a little bit more. And gesture control seems like a gimmick, it seems like a novelty, but when I've driven the 7 Series and just done this to turn the volume up or down, they say, yeah, you can just use the thumb scroll on the steering wheel or reach over and turn a knob, but for some reason this feels easier. I don't know why.
What if you do this, like to indicate that you're passing? Does it turn up the stereo as well?
Right. It's just really confined to an individual spot, and but it works really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of these capabilities for gesture control, and what it comes down to is how that actually feels when you're driving. Really.
Yeah. I mean, if it feels intuitive, and if it feels just as natural for me to go over and turn the knob as doing this does, it'll be interesting. I haven't been in a car that's got the gesture control, so I'm interested to see how I personally would react to that, since I'm kind of such a buttons and knobs kind of gal.
Well, the 5 Series also has the wireless Apple CarPlay.
Yeah, that's really cool. Right. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, instead of plugging your phone in, you just bring it in, it's connected through Bluetooth. And I haven't tried this yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. Because CarPlay, I've found that when I get into a car that has CarPlay, I tend to use it. I tend to just, forget the original system and go straight for that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just wondering what this is going to do for battery life, though. It seems like plugging in always seems like a good idea because using navigation always kills the battery in your phone pretty quick. So I think most people will still want to, but having the option is definitely good, especially for people like us who are hopping from one car to the next on a pretty frequent basis. Going back to the LS, I think it looks great. I think it's really cool. But it's really aggressive on the styling. I mean, that's a pretty in-your-face grille on that thing. Do you think it's too much, especially for the clientele of that car?
Well, when I looked at it, if you look at the most recent RX, that's got a crazy big grille, big angles and everything, super aggressive. That was pretty polarizing when it came out. When I saw the LS, I thought they've actually dialed that down a little bit. Yeah, it's much more than the current one, the current LS model, and. But it felt like it was just a little bit more refined. Yeah, it is big and chunky and has a presence. And I think they are going for more presence, more. You'll this is the car coming down the road. They don't want to just blend in with all the other luxury sedans or they don't want to be homogenous, which is something good in that.
They're certainly becoming synonymous with Lexus. giant spindle grille that's
Yeah.
super shiny with lots of reflection.
They're doing that, but they're also focusing on performance. Like that platform that the new LS on, it's shared with the LC. I drove that a couple months ago, and things phenomenal. Just on the LS, it's stretch. It's super, super stiff. But like one thing they're trying to do, they want to match driving, like the performance dynamics with Mercedes, BMW, and whatnot. And the LS has always been a super comfortable car, but it's always fallen behind when it's come to engagement. You get it, and you're like, it's just super coffin quiet, comfortable, everything like that. But they really want to amp up, make the steering tighter, the whole thing tighter. So after driving the LC, I'm pretty confident that they are going to make a pretty sharp driving LS, I hope.
I was really curious about that because Lexus has tried to do that sport thing recently, and it hasn't quite gelled. But you said with LC they've really got
LC is good, and I think the work they did on the GSF very
GSF's a lot
impressive.
Of fun. It is. I'm surprised we didn't see the LC's hybrid system in the new LS. I mean, I guess that'll probably come down the road, but I would have thought they might lead with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because like Wayne said, they went to a downsized motor, the twin turbo V6 on it instead of a V8 now. I'm guessing a hybrid will come, and I'm guessing also all-wheel drive will come down the line as well. So they're just probably taking their time and rolling it out.
That's probably the craziest hybrid system that I can think of. Can you walk us through a little bit how that works with multiple transmissions and everything else briefly?
Oh, geez, yeah.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Right. I'm
just say planetary
digging
gear.
back. Yeah, maybe. The transmission's got a CVT, and there's like a 4-speed normal
Automatic
transmission.
Yeah.
And so the first gear, I think 1 through 3, is handled by the CVT, and then I think I might be flipped away, but it's just so the whole point is that they didn't like the CVT buzz and hanging up in gears and the revs and whatnot. So that's why they put that 4-speed in there, and it's just it works with the CVT and adjusts a bunch of different ratios, and so that's how they get actually shifts that feel
like a
real,
shift.
yeah. And so,
but the flexibility of the CVT
right.
and the economy and the
so
performance.
they're putting those two together to try to give you the performance and the fuel economy.
So the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But what does that do to the weight of the car?
They cut a lot of weight out of that new platform. There's a ton of aluminum in that thing, and so that kind of made up for what they added with the hybrid.
And the LC is one of the most gorgeous cars here. I'm going to say it's almost the most gorgeous production car of 2017. I mean, that is an absolutely phenomenally good-looking car, especially for under $100,000. I mean, you look at all these crazy super concepts and things like that. We did get pricing for the LC starting at $92,000 or something like that, I think, and only a $3,500 premium for that crazy hybrid system, which on a car that expensive, it seems like they could have charged a little bit more if they wanted to. So LS is looking good. New F-150 is looking good. Kia's looking good.
I know.
Some pretty good cars. All right, I think we're going to wrap up with the first phase of this discussion. We're going to throw to a quick break. Thanks very much, John, Emmy, and Wayne. We're going to take a quick break, then we'll come back with the second group of Roadshow editors, the rest of the team. We'll talk about their favorite cars. We'll be right back in just a moment.